So, David, I would love to hear about your class, Death and Afterlife. What can we expect by taking this class?
Well, first of all, let me make clear that our civilization really doesn't know how to deal with death effectively. You'd think that nobody was actually going to die by the way people talk to each other. And then when they die, that's the end of everything, which of course is totally absurd. The soul's survival has long been and carefully been documented, not only in religious texts, which have, of course, questionable authenticity, but by scientific experiment. Researchers in the field of near-death experience have recorded over 4 million episodes of people returning from death, of which over 100,000 have been researched, many of which have over thousands have been discovered. There are no other adequate explanations except the survival of the soul and its capacity to travel across physical distances and observe distant people and events, and then return to the body, sometimes waking up at an autopsy table just as they're about to cut you open. Such incidents, which I like to call, some people call those near-death experiences. I think that's absurd. Most of these are actually resurrection experiences. Certainly prove that there is an existence after death, and that it frankly doesn't all that resemble the teachings of religion, quite frankly. Although there are indeed very beautiful and divine angelic realms, and of course very hot fiery realms as well, the spiritual planes, none of this has much to do with what you believe or who your personal brand of savior happens to be. Instead, however, there are very important principles we need to learn about how the soul finds its next incarnation, what processes it needs to go through, and you need to be prepared. Only if you are actually going to die someday, you need to be prepared to go through that experience and maximize your outcome on the other side. People talk about their prepared for those few years in which they get to be retired. Most people don't pay much attention at all to the many centuries that are going to be determined by the way we behave in this lifetime. And if I sound like a Christian moralist, please let me correct myself. This has nothing to do with Christian doctrine, which is often extremely contaminated. Instead, what you will learn in this class is what really is going to happen, based upon the research of thousands of investigated cases. Now, my question for all of you is this: would you like those 4 million people who died and came back for you, for your knowledge and understanding? Would you rather they have died in vain? Would you rather go around believing in the tenets of scientific materialism, which tells you there is no such thing as spirit, and that is science, but in fact that is just another religious cult, ladies and gentlemen? Or would you rather believe in the Christian Bible or the Islamic Quran or whatever particular book of divine revelation you wish to swallow whole, hoping that your book is the right one and not just the source of 1,000 years of burning indigestion, if it's the wrong one? None of this is important. None of this has anything to do with what you really need to learn and know and be prepared for at the time of your death. You will also learn how to communicate with the spirits of the dead, how to make sure that when Aunt Tilly dies, that she doesn't disappear from your life. After all, my deceased friends and relatives are some of the dearest friends I have right here, right now. I even, by the way, got my father's fudge recipe a while back from him in Spirit World. It's always easy to do this once you learn. And we teach this in that class, Death and the Afterlife. It is not based on any religious nonsense. Frankly, I'm allergic to dogmatic teachings. I'm the son of a fundamentalist minister, and I don't want to go back there. But this particular class is about knowing what's really going to happen and be ready for it, because if you think it's going to be extinction, you're entirely mistaken, as my friend Sigmund Freud found out. Instead, what you're going to learn is how to communicate with the spirit world, how to maximize the benefit of your journey to the spirit world, how to make it easy. I remember when my mother passed away, at the age of 83, and she died in a very quick 15-minute practice session. I said, Mom, are you ready to go? She smiles and leaves in the arms of her beloved husband, who came for her as instructed. You will learn how to take people easily across the corridor of death and how to go there yourself easily. Wouldn't that be a nice thing to know? And
Absolutely.
how to call forth the spirits of the dead and speak to them whenever you want to, and what kind of worlds exist on the other side, and which ones you want to go to, and frankly, which ones to avoid, and how to. So if you want to have a class in learning about death and the afterlife, if you might be planning to die someday and maybe would not like to take what your Catholic priest or your atheistic physics professor have to say about it seriously, maybe if you hope there might be something else, come to this class and learn the real science of the other side.
Which brings so much peace. There's that inner peace of really understanding and connecting with the soul. And that is so valuable, as one of the main causes of suffering is letting go of a beloved, not knowing that the life continues, the soul continues. So I want to thank you for offering this course.
Yes. And it is a tremendous experience. And there's a great deal of excitement for all of us as we explore this world. And we do it as a group on Zoom. This was the genius of Pat Haggard, founder of Bridges.Academy, is if we can bring everyone together in the Zoom plane, it can be just as powerful as on the physical plane. Thank you, Pat. Now, let's go and turn off the recording now. Turn off the recording, because that way we can now get ready to do the 3-minute segments, because I think we now finished that particular